Profiles in Cinemania, Maggie Smith, In Memoriam. There's one thing actors love. It's being one of us, a person of the people, someone who may tread the boards by night but still knows the price of a pint of milk and how to make their own tea and crumpets. Actors will be the first to tell you that it's not about the awards, it's not about the money or the praise or the attention, it's certainly not the awards. No, it's all about the craft. This is, of course, utter bullshit. All lies. Actors love getting awards, and your average thespian will happily stab a kitten in the face if it means winning the Best Kitten Stabber award at the Oscars. Speaking of awards, the Triple Crown of Acting represents the pinnacle of Hollywood achievement. For over 70 years, the Triple Crown has been the unofficial term for winning a Tony for Best Actor on the Stage, an Emmy for Best Actor on the small screen, and an Oscar for Best Actor on the silver screen. We're not talking supporting actor either. It's the brass ring or nothing for the triple. Only a handful of actors can claim the Triple Crown of Acting, and in that very exclusive club, there are even fewer women. One of them was Dame Maggie Smith, Companion of Honor and Dame of the British Empire. Not bad for a lady who started out as a girl from Essex. Born in 1934, Maggie Smith was educated at the Oxford High School, and as soon as early education was out of the way, she started performing at the Oxford Playhouse at just 17. She rapidly distinguished herself in plays ranging from Shakespeare to modern productions, and it wasn't long before she was being talked about as a special new talent of her generation. 10 years after she started out, she caught the eye of one Laurence Olivier, who snapped her up for his newly formed National Theatre Company. And when Olivier wants you for his gang, you know you've really arrived in the world of theater. Right from the beginning, she extended her reach. Unable to be contained on one stage alone, she performed for the BBC and on Broadway, and was quickly solidified as a part of the establishment of British acting. In 1969, she received the Best Actress Oscar for her role in The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie, playing a manipulative and politically charged teacher who tries to impose her worldview on her impressionable students, with tragic results. Her work was described as mesmerizing and perfect, in a very particularly British way, which wasn't bad considering her Scottish accent in the film. If you want to see an example of restrained but incredibly potent acting, it's worth a watch. Well, perhaps it wasn't for nothing that she was acclaimed as a haughty Scottish schoolmistress, because to a newer generation, she will forever be Professor McGonagall of Hogwarts from the Harry Potter series of films. Calm, maternal, but hard as nails when she needs to be. Professor McGonagall was perhaps the teacher who we all wished we had at our backs in our misspent youth. To go from stunning the 60s set with a performance as an educator to enchanting the millennials with another one might seem like a pleasingly symmetrical beginning and end to a career, but she was hardly done yet. Maggie Smith never stopped working and never stopped finding new legions of fans, not least for her role as the redoubtable Dowager Countess Grantham in Downton Abbey. People who know her described her as a quiet, shy person who would make friends easily and never fall for all the Hollywood nonsense that has bogged down so many of the greats. That's not to say she was a pushover. She had an acid wit, and her fellow actors delighted in telling stories about her, all in a spirit of total affection. You should look up Ian McKellen talking about her. He does a simply wicked impersonation. She was never someone to raise her voice in anger or resort to selfish boasting like so many so-called stars of today. But don't let that fool you. Among a forest of talents, she was a mountain, and her body of work towers so imposingly that it would seem almost childish to draw attention to it. Professor McGonagall doesn't have to remind people who she is. The Dowager Countess doesn't need to mention that she's good at what she does. Everyone around her did that quite well on her behalf. She was one of those actors who you don't so much audition as beg to be in your show, if it's not too much of a bother. Her life was a series of acclaimed performances decades in the making. But in the end, every performance must draw to a close. Dame Maggie sadly passed away on September 27th at the age of 89. Reflecting her stature in British society, the King issued a statement expressing his remorse, as did the Prime Minister. It's not hard to imagine that Maggie Smith from Essex would have thought it all a lot of fuss to make for no reason. After all, it's not about the awards or the praise, and you know she would have meant it. Frankly, however, Dame Maggie deserved no less. Profiles in Cinemania is a production of the Cinemania Society, LLC. This episode is written by Andy Slack and performed by Hope Bravo. Editing, mastering, and mixing by Ethan Ireland. Music by Carl Casey at White Bat Audio.